Now, this is something that under normal circumstances, the Ukrainians, with what they've got, could never reach. If you were president of the United States, Clayton, and somebody came to you and said, this is our plan, this is what we want to do, and you had any presence of mind, you would say, well, that's outrageous. That means we're at war with Russia. I don't want to do that. And Biden has said that repeatedly, yet this is exactly what we've done. And I'm sure by now, the Russians know where it came from. They know what was used against them. I mean, this sort of thing you can't conceal once it's been done. And they could easily say, well, we're going to do this. Now, the reason for not doing it is, as I said before, Putin would prefer to wait for the outcome of the election and see whether or not it makes any difference. But he has every right to respond. The question is, what do we do? Are we going to be dumb enough to respond to that with more acts of war against Russia?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to our latest analysis on the ongoing conflict in Ukraine. Colonel Douglas Macgregor has been closely monitoring the developments in the Kursk region, where Russia's counteroffensive is making headlines. As we delve into these unfolding events, it's clear that the skies are filled with drones and bombs, creating a chaotic battlefield. This counteroffensive marks a critical moment in the war, a moment that could very well shape the outcome of this protracted conflict. The stakes are high, and both sides are fully aware that the consequences of these battles will reverberate far beyond the front lines. What we're witnessing is not just another skirmish, it's a calculated, strategic move by Russia to regain control and assert dominance in a region that has seen intense fighting over the past several months. The use of advanced UAVs and precision-guided bombs underscores the sophistication and intensity of this operation. It also reflects the importance that the Russian military places on achieving decisive victories in key regions like Kursk. Mr. Douglas has often highlighted the dangers of overconfidence in military strategy. To begin, let's revisit a statement made by a Ukrainian official earlier this year. He confidently predicted that by July 28th, Ukraine would be celebrating on the beaches of Crimea. Fast forward to today, and we can see the stark contrast between words and reality. The promised celebrations in Crimea have not materialized, and that same official remains in his position despite his failed prophecy. This is more than just a missed prediction, it's a stark reminder of the overconfidence that has characterized much of Ukraine's public rhetoric throughout this conflict. Such overconfidence is not without consequence. It leads to a dangerous underestimation of the realities on the ground, where Russian forces, well prepared and heavily armed, have proven time and again that they are not easily defeated. The discrepancy between the Ukrainian leadership's bold claims and the actual situation at the front lines has led to growing frustration and disillusionment among Ukrainian troops and their supporters. This is a pattern we've seen time and time again, grand declarations from Ukraine, only to be met with harsh realities on the ground. This narrative leads us directly to the current situation in the Sumy Kursk region, where Ukraine's ambitious plans have encountered formidable Russian defenses. The implications of this mismatch between expectation and reality are profound, as they shape the morale and strategic decisions on both sides. As we analyze the developments in Kursk, it's crucial to understand the tactics Ukraine is employing and how Russia is countering them. The lessons from past failures will undoubtedly influence the strategies unfolding in the coming days. According to Mr. Colonel, the tactical dynamics in the Kursk region are a testament to Russia's defensive capabilities. In the Kursk region, Ukrainian forces have attempted to exploit gaps in Russian defenses. They've pushed into gray zones, attacking from the north of Snagost and behind Komarovka. However, these efforts have met with strong Russian resistance. The significance of these gray zones cannot be overstated. They represent the contested areas where neither side has full control, making them the focal points of intense and often brutal combat. For instance, when Ukraine attacked Komarovka, Russian forces successfully repelled the assault, maintaining control of this strategic location. The battle for Komarovka is emblematic of the larger struggle in Kursk, a struggle characterized by fierce close-quarters combat, where control of even the smallest village or roadway can have far-reaching consequences. Similarly, at Kornevo, Ukrainian troops have repeatedly attempted to breach Russian lines, only to be beaten back each time. Over the past 48 hours, these battles have been particularly intense, with Ukraine suffering significant losses. Russian forces have adopted a strategy reminiscent of historical military tactics, setting ambushes in key areas, much like Zhu Zhiliang would have done during the Battle of Red Cliffs. This strategy has proven effective in halting Ukraine's advances. These ambushes are not just about repelling the enemy, but are designed to inflict maximum damage, demoralizing Ukrainian troops and disrupting their supply lines. The choice of terrain, timing, and the element of surprise have all been meticulously planned to ensure that Ukrainian forces are caught off guard, often with devastating results. The ability of Russian forces to hold these strategic points despite repeated assaults speaks volumes about their preparedness and resolve. It also highlights the challenges that Ukraine faces in trying to break through these well-fortified positions. The longer these battles drag on, the more it benefits Russia, which has the advantage of interior lines and can more easily reinforce its positions. As we move forward, let's take a closer look at the deeper implications of Ukraine's strategies and how Russia is systematically dismantling them. The complexities of this conflict are evident in every skirmish, every maneuver, and every strategic decision. Mr. Colonel has pointed out the importance of information warfare in modern conflicts, and the Kowchuk maneuver is a prime example. One of the most intriguing aspects of Ukraine's tactics is their use of media to bolster morale and create the illusion of progress. In the Kowchuk area, Ukrainian forces have been placing road signs and taking photos to suggest that they are advancing toward Kursk. These images have been widely circulated, creating a narrative that Ukraine is making significant gains. However, beneath the surface, this strategy reveals the desperation and the lengths to which Ukraine is willing to go to maintain the appearance of momentum. However, the reality on the ground is far from what these photos suggest. The Ukrainian forces in this area are advancing into what are essentially gray zones areas without significant Russian military presence. Once they encounter Russian troops, they quickly retreat, as their light vehicles and lack of heavy armor make it impossible to hold these positions. This is a classic case of media manipulation where the visual impact is prioritized over the actual military situation. It's a tactic designed to deceive not only the enemy but also the Ukrainian populace and international supporters. This strategy of advancing into unoccupied areas and using media to exaggerate their success has led to a decline in credibility even among Ukrainian supporters. The overuse of such tactics has made it easy for Russian forces and independent analysts to debunk these claims, turning Ukraine's own propaganda against them. The more these exaggerations are exposed, the more difficult it becomes for Ukraine to maintain the trust and support of its allies. In a war where information is as powerful as weaponry, the erosion of credibility can have serious consequences. It affects not only the morale of the troops, but also the strategic decisions made by the leadership. The focus on creating a media narrative rather than achieving tangible military objectives could ultimately weaken Ukraine's position in this conflict. Let's now shift our focus to the primary theater of operations in Sudzha, where the true intensity of the conflict is unfolding. The battles here will determine not just control of territory, but the direction of the entire war. Mr. Douglas has emphasized the significance of the Sudzha region as a critical stronghold in Russia's defense strategy. The Sudzha region has become a focal point of the conflict, with Ukrainian forces launching wave after wave of attacks, particularly in areas like Mardovka and Malaya. Despite these relentless assaults, Russian defenses have held firm, withstanding the onslaught and preventing any significant Ukrainian breakthroughs. The strategic importance of Sudzha cannot be overstated. It is the linchpin of Russia's defensive line in this region. Russian troops have established a formidable line of defense, particularly around Martinovka, Cherkasko, and Malaya. These strongholds have proven crucial in protecting the northern flank of Sudzha. Even if Sudzha were to fall, these fortified positions would allow Russia to regroup and launch counterattacks to reclaim lost ground. The terrain in Sudzha, with its natural fortifications and well-prepared defensive lines, gives Russian forces a significant advantage, allowing them to repel Ukrainian attacks with minimal losses. Ukraine's inability to penetrate these defenses underscores the effectiveness of Russia's strategy. By maintaining control of these key positions, Russia has been able to limit Ukraine's advance and prepare for future counteroffensives. The use of precision artillery, coordinated drone strikes, and well-planned defensive maneuvers have all contributed to the resilience of Russian forces in this area. The longer Ukraine is bogged down in these fruitless assaults, the more resources they expend, weakening their overall war effort. This grinding war of attrition is taking its toll on Ukrainian forces. Every failed attack not only diminishes their manpower and equipment, but also erodes their morale. The psychological impact of repeatedly failing to breach Russian defenses is significant, leading to a sense of futility and desperation among Ukrainian troops. On the other hand, for Russia, each successful defense reinforces their resolve and strengthens their position, both militarily and politically. With the situation in Sudzha becoming increasingly precarious for Ukrainian forces, let's explore the broader implications for the conflict and the strategies Russia is likely to employ moving forward. The outcome of this battle could very well dictate the next phase of the war. As Colonel Douglas MacGregor has observed, strategic towns like Plekovo are crucial in shaping the broader conflict. Recently, Ukrainian forces managed to capture the town of Plekovo, a strategic location near the southwestern approach to Sudzha. This town is critical for controlling the supply routes and the movement of troops between key areas. However, Plekovo's importance goes beyond just its strategic location. It is symbolic of Ukraine's determination to achieve a breakthrough in this region, no matter the cost. However, this victory may be short-lived. Russian forces have already begun counterattacks to retake the surrounding areas, and Plekovo itself remains highly contested. The situation in Plekovo highlights the dynamic nature of this conflict, where control of key locations can shift rapidly. The constant back and forth over Plekovo is a microcosm of the larger conflict, where both sides are locked in a relentless struggle for dominance. Despite Ukraine's initial success in capturing Plekovo, it's important to recognize that the town's strategic value is limited unless they can secure and hold it against Russian counterattacks. Given Russia's track record in this conflict, it's likely that Plekovo will soon be back under Russian control. The Russian military's ability to quickly regroup and launch effective counteroffensives has been a hallmark of their strategy, and Plekovo is unlikely to be an exception. The capture of Plekovo, while significant, is not a game changer. It represents a tactical gain rather than a strategic victory. For Ukraine to capitalize on this success, they would need to consolidate their hold on the town and use it as a staging ground for further advances. However, with Russian forces already mobilizing to retake Plekovo, this is a daunting task. The battle for Plekovo also underscores the broader challenges facing Ukrainian forces. Even when they achieve tactical victories, they are often unable to hold on to their gains due to the overwhelming Russian firepower and the relentless nature of Russian counterattacks. This dynamic creates a cycle of attrition that favors Russia, which can afford to lose territory temporarily, only to reclaim it later with devastating force. As we conclude this segment, we'll consider the long-term outlook for the Kursk region and how these developments fit into the broader strategic picture. The lessons learned from Plekovo will undoubtedly influence the next steps in this ongoing conflict. In conclusion, the situation in Kursk remains fluid, with both sides engaged in a high-stakes battle for control. Russia's counteroffensive, bolstered by UAVs and bombs, is proving to be a formidable challenge for Ukrainian forces. While Ukraine continues to attempt breakthroughs, the reality on the ground shows that Russian defenses are holding strong. As the conflict continues, it's clear that the strategic importance of this region cannot be understated. The outcome of these battles will have significant implications for the broader war effort. For Russia, a successful defense of Kursk would solidify their control over the region and provide a launching pad for future offensives. For Ukraine, failure to break through could signal the beginning of a broader retreat, as their resources and morale are gradually worn down. We will continue to monitor these developments closely and provide you with the most accurate and up-to-date analysis. The coming days will be crucial in determining the future direction of this conflict, and we will be here to break it all down for you. Stay tuned for more in-depth coverage of the conflict, where every battle, every decision, and every strategy could change the course of history.